Special guest. For today's Winning Wednesday, we have Alex Yu here. He is mainly focusing on seller leads with Easy Home Search. So we thought this would be a great opportunity to have him join Winning Wednesday, kind of show you guys what he's been doing with his seller leads and all of his knowledge. So I'm just going to let you take it away. Feel free to share your screen, Alex. Do what you got to do, and then we'll do a little Q&A after if there's time.
Perfect. Appreciate it, Bailey.
Thank you.
So just a little bit of background. So I've been with Easy Home Search since the beginning, focused more on seller leads. I'm located in Orange County, California, working with a small regional brokerage. We have 37 offices, and I'm the largest team when it comes to production in our Newport Beach office. So I've been with Easy Home Search for a little bit over a year now, and there's definitely a lot of opportunities that I see. And what I'm going to say is that, going into it and giving a little bit of background, for me, kind of just growing up, is that my parents came here in like 1977. And the funny thing about that is that growing up here, I remember because I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. And not that that matters, but it does matter for one reason. When I was 8 years old, I was talking to my parents and I was like, hey, you know what? Everyone's getting an allowance. I'd like to, get an allowance too. And they said, hey, we came to this country, so we're going to allow you to stay in this house. That's about as far as it's going to go. And what I will tell you is that the first opportunity I had in this life as a child to make money was actually one that my dad gave me. And it wasn't to like do chores around the house. It wasn't to do, backyard work. Instead, he said, hey, you know what? And just so we're clear, he was a chemical engineer. That's what he did for work. He said, I will pay you $10. And I said, what do I have to do? He's like, you don't have to do anything. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay you $10 so I can cut your hair. Remember, he's a chemical engineer. And this is how my haircut came out, if you guys can see it. Okay. So it is not even close to being straight. Like it was ridiculous to the point that my dad, 5 minutes in, because he kept cutting up, he just started laughing. He just started laughing so hard that he had to leave the room. And what I will tell you is that with my dad, he was like, okay, this is a bad idea. And I think if you do a bad bowl cut on an Asian, you kind of lose your yellow card or something. But what I'm hanging out on top of here is a fruit tree. Our backyard, if you can kind of see, if you saw the other direction, it was full of fruit trees. The first way that I actually made money after having this terrible experience, because this is what my parents, like what they imagined for my life, was to go ahead and start selling fruit door to door. And the reason that I did that is that I didn't really there's no way for me to get an allowance. All my friends went to 7-Eleven. They always had candy. They always had money, because my parents didn't believe in that. And for us as agents in Orange County, the market's been pretty flat. But year over year, we're up 47% when it comes to revenue, compared to how we were in the past. And what I'm going to show you guys today is how to go ahead and create your own economy with the listings that you already have. We always start with like paid opportunities, which for us is Easy Home Search, reaching out to these potential sellers. And if you hadn't had a chance to watch the video from Greg Harrelson that's in there, one of the replays, it's amazing. And Greg is one of the first people that I actually saw being in the business for 10 years, displaying it and explaining it in the right way, which is you want to focus on meeting people where they're at. Are they a dreamer? Are they an explorer? Or are they actually a seller? No matter where they're at, you want to go ahead and engage them in that right position. So that's a great training, and I would recommend it for anyone that wants to work with sellers. So the next piece, though, is if you have a listing, that is the most valuable thing that you can have. There's a lot of teams that are, great Zillow Flex teams, and I think that's fantastic. But what I would say is that a listing is something that no one can really take away from you, There's a sign in the ground. Your real estate is online as well. So what I'm going to want to take you guys through is basically how we take a listing and generate even more listings with that single listing. And that's basically what we call opportunity farming here. So what I'll kind of show you here is, let me share screens on this. So if you guys can see here, this is basically 5 listings that we got within a quarter of a mile. And how we did this was actually a 4-phase process. The most valuable thing you can have as an agent is a listing. But as a subset of that, the most valuable thing you can have is actually information that is not available to the public. That's exactly why right now we see this huge battle between Zillow and basically Compass. They believe having an off market is the most valuable thing that you can have. And this is one thing, and there's ways to do it. So this is the first listing we took at 33 Amesbury Court. And on this one, and keep in mind that, this was a little bit ago, but on this one, we were able to generate these other 4 listings rather, based on that one listing in a 12-month period. In this area, there's only 110 homes. So if you implement the opportunity farming system that I've actually shared with friends and agents across the country that have implemented it, that's the way that you can go ahead and generate a business off of the business you already have with almost no ad spend. So there's 4 phases of every listing that we have coming to market. The first phase is going to be coming soon. The second phase is going to be active. The next one is going to be in escrow. And then the last one is sold. So what we do is we want to communicate with people that already own in these neighborhoods about information. And I'm going to take you through each of my individual letters that we're using to go ahead and mail. So the first thing we do when we get a brand new listing is we set a 10-day clock. And on the 10-day clock, we're basically going to be getting the right information that we need. We want 200 homeowners within the area. The reason I want 200 homeowners, and I primarily focus only on owner occupied, people that are currently live there, is 200 also gives you the ability to mail letters in bulk, which is way less expensive than mailing first class. So we find 200 names and owners in that neighborhood because that allows us to mail for less money. And when it comes to that, we also go and we use Mojo to go ahead and circle prospect, because you don't want to just hit them in their mailbox. Some people like to watch YouTube videos, some people like podcasts, some people like to read a book. You want to make sure that you are omnipresent and that your message is getting to them in their preferred method. We also run targeted Facebook ads as well. So when we got that listing at 33 Amesbury, the first thing we did was we went ahead and got the 200 names, addresses, emails, phone numbers, skip trace, and we have that. And then what we do is we get it ready and then we mail a letter that is going to be coming soon. So let me go ahead and then pull up the coming soon letter so you guys can see it. And let me make sure that comes up. Bailey, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. So on this letter, what we do is that we basically write subject, choose your new neighbor, and hello name. I wanted to personally reach out about an exciting opportunity I have coming up in whatever community this property is in. The specificity of your letter is really going to be the key on making sure it's working. I was in a mastermind with Eric Simon from the Broke Agent, last month in Vegas. And his whole thing is that if you look at BAM and you find them on Instagram, a lot of the videos that are performing really well is hyper local. And I used to just mail to an entire city of 10,000 people, and the response rate was just very, very low. But when you can actually go inside a community and be the trusted voice in there, even if there's an long dominated this area, you can actually show up differently because in this particular farm at 33 Amesbury, there's actually two other realtors out of 107 homes that were in the community. And they hated these letters. And the reason they hated these letters is because they worked. So I want to personally reach out about an exciting opportunity coming up and in community. If you love living here, know someone you like as your neighbor, we've got a stunning 3-bed, 2-bath home about to hit the market. You want to go ahead and make sure that you don't share any information about the property other than features. You don't want to share the address here. And the reason you don't want to share the address is all you're trying to get at this point is for someone to raise their hand. If they raise their hand, you add them to your database, you keep them in the loop, and then you can sell more property. So right now, inventory is incredibly tight. Only about however many months of inventory worth of homes are available, and buyers are outnumbering sellers. Even if you have extended days on market, the key is that you want to make sure that that means serious interest and quick moves. So I want to give you a heads up before the market finds out. Owner at 123 Main Street is going to talk to a next door neighbor. Hey, do you know there's another home coming up in the market? This is the chatter that you want to create. So you are actually the bringer and the source and the lighthouse of information. And so then I just go, if you want like more details about this home, or if you've been thinking about selling your property at 123 Main Street, because you want to put that in their mind because you don't know where they're at, and you need to speak to the audience that you're in front of, or might consider a strong offer from a ready buyer, feel free to text me or call me directly. And what I like to do here is your name, your title, your brokerage, put that here. But what I will also add, if it's an area that I've sold multiple homes in, is I work in Costa Mesa, which is where I live. So I say Costa Mesa's hardest working agent. What you're trying to do is you're flipping the dialogue compared to all the other agents that are consistently farming in the area. Because most agents naturally, and I made the same mistake, want to go wide. Instead, you want to go deep. The deeper you can go, the more opportunities you have. So this is the first letter that we send before it's coming to market. We just had one of these go out last night, and the property is coming to the market in about a week. So coming soon is actually where you're likely to get the most calls. This is information that is not available to the public. So this is the first letter that comes in. The second letter that you want to put in place is active. So the reason you want to go ahead and the consistency and the cadence of the actual letters is actually what makes the small difference that makes all the difference. Subject or neighbor's home just hit the market. Exciting news, we're officially live with our neighbor's home at 123 Main Street. At that point, once it's coming soon or active, we can go ahead and publicize it, over here in California. Here's a quick overview of the property. And this should be like the very best features about this home. This should be the best features that want them to make them want to come see the home. So you basically want to tell that story. Behind the scenes, we've been working hard to get this home the attention it deserves. We're already connected with the sold agent number. One of the parts of our listings is that we are going to reach out to the top 100 agents that have sold in that neighborhood over the last 12 to 24 months, who recently sold similar homes within 3 miles and have re-engaged every buyer who's shown interest online. This is also something that we go ahead and we're running targeted Facebook ads. In short, the momentum is strong and we're off to a fast start. And if you've been thinking about a move or know someone who'd be perfect for this home, I'd love to connect. Just shoot me a text or give me a call at your number, your information again. Because when you do this, this not only shows that you're going to keep them in the loop, because the number one complaint against real estate agents, it's the same one over and over again. And that is a lack of communication. If you can show potential sellers that there's cadence, and that is exactly what they want to hear. The next thing is that when you do go into escrow, this one is one, and I would always pick properties that you think are going to get more attention to. Your neighbor's home is in escrow, and we may have a buyer for yours. If this message does not resonate with the person that picks up this letter, they're going to throw it in the trash can. And that's okay. Because know that at any given time, 2 to 5% of people are thinking of moving. And I was actually just at a listing we have in Huntington Beach, and two of the neighbors walked by. They're like, "Hey, are you Alex?" Because standing by the real estate sign, they said, "Hey, we got your letter. We're not looking to move, but if we know of anyone looking to move, we'll definitely let you know." And it's specifically because they just got letter number 3. Hi, Name. I want to personally reach out and share a quick neighborhood update. You may have already noticed the activity, but we're now officially in escrow on your neighbor's home at property address. Thanks to our strategic marketing plan, a lot of behind the scenes effort, the home received multiple offers from highly qualified buyers. Even if you received 2 offers and it was over a period of time, you still can share that. While we're thrilled for our sellers, we can only accept 1 offer, which means we have serious buyers still searching for the right home in this area. Here's where you come in. There's currently very limited number of homes available in the neighborhood, and these families are actively looking for a place to call home. Your property at 123 Main Street might be exactly what one of them is looking for. If you've been quietly thinking about a move or would be simply open to hearing what a motivated buyer might offer, I'd love to connect with you. Love to connect with you for a no pressure conversation. Even if you're not ready now, it's always good to know your options in this kind of market. And the reason it says this kind of market is that some sellers still want 2021 prices, right? And some of them are in a different mentality. They're like, oh, the market's crashing, the economy's bad. This part, basically, it speaks to wherever they are mentally, and which is the key. And reach me directly by text or phone at this number. I'd be happy to answer any questions or share what buyers are currently looking for. That opens the door for people that are thinking about renovating, but they haven't put their home on the market yet. And I got one of these last week. They're like, Alex, I'd love for you to do a walkthrough. I don't know if we should do anything to this. And to be honest, there was like a roof leak and mold behind the couch. So I'm like, yeah, you guys got to do something about that. But they've talked to a bunch of agents, but I was the only one that was hand invited in. And they said, Alex, you've been really consistent about your information. We appreciate it. And then they just are added to nurture. Now, the last letter is this one. And we just sold your neighbor's home at 123 Main Street for a record-breaking price or square footage using a strategic seller process. Use whatever is important. If it's sold quickly, if it's sold over market, if it's sold like whatever the best feature of that transaction was, make sure you mention it here. Because keep in mind that the best agents don't always get the best listings. The best marketers get the best listings. Okay. And from there, you're going to say the best features about the property that people like the most, because you want to portray to them what you're going to say about their home that they own, because that's who they want to work with, people that are collecting. Well, this high price per square foot for a home Sycamore marketing environment, get the home, still actively looking. Even if you talk to a number of agents that said, oh, they're home, but they're not ready yet, have that conversation. If you've thought about selling or would consider an offer from a serious buyer, I'd love to connect. Just text me at your number. So this one, if the seller of the home that you sold, include the Google review as a page 2 in there to show proof over promise. I will tell you that this has resulted for us just last year alone over $100,000 of extra revenue. So when it comes to this, let me pull that up again. So when it comes to like the listings that we got, this was all over a 12-month period. We got this listing in Ladera Ranch, and we did go ahead and get that through a paid lead source. But with that one opportunity, we started mailing the letters. We started making the calls. We started making sure that everyone knew what was going on. And to be honest, like that agent that was in the community, and they actually they were the one doing most of the transactions in there. They told all the neighbors, because I have friends in that neighborhood. They're like, Alex with his stupid letters, he keeps sending them. He's just spamming the neighborhood with these letters. And then I got 32 Amesbury right next door. So guess what I did? I mailed the 4 letters, I made the calls, and then I got another listing from that. And from there, we got to 16 Amesbury. I actually didn't get another call from the letters. after that. So I learned how to do real estate from a degenerate gambler. And he said, Alex, the key to success is always maintaining your principal. And what he meant by that is that once he starts winning, he takes the profits and puts them aside. And then he's playing with extra money. That's how we did it. I will keep mailing these letters until it stops working. And surprisingly, this listing we got in 57 San Savino, which is not in the same community, it actually came from the letter 2 years later when one of the neighbors that moved out of the neighborhood didn't work with me, but they said, hey, I got this letter from an agent. He might have a buyer. So 2 years later, we just sold this home this year, actually. And they said, oh, yeah, we saw your letter, and that's why we're calling you. Because when people are thinking about selling, they are actually going to hold on to this. So if it works, we do it again. And if it works, rinse and repeat, do it again. And you keep doing it and until it stops working. That is the key to making this process work. Because I'm going to tell you, and even if you do this on a low pro style and you're just going to mail the letters, you don't want to do the calls or anything like that, it's the best opportunity you have at creating more opportunities with the opportunities you already have. Because otherwise, you have to go from where you're at today and go find a cold audience to go ahead and market to. With this process, you can actually go and you already have a warm audience. Because if you could talk to people that you don't know or people that you do know, which conversation is going to be easier? It's going to be the people that you already know. And this is the process that we continue to use day in and day out, and it continues to be the way that we generate more business. We just took in Expired because we sold a property using this system and we got multiple listings from it. So my biggest key for you is that no matter what, doing something, it's going to cost a little bit of money, but doing nothing, what is it going to cost you in 12 months? If you can continue to work in a neighborhood that you like, this is exactly the way to do it. And you can control your own economy. That's the biggest key, because don't rely on your parents. My parents have this picture and I show it to them. I'm like, this is brutal. So I sold fruit door to door when I was 11 years old because I was not going to get. You can either be embarrassed because you got a bad haircut. If you could probably sell your feet pics online if you don't want to do this, but I'm going to tell you guys, selling real estate and creating more opportunities for yourself is really the way to do it. I was going to do a lemonade stand when I was a kid, but the O'Brien girls on the corner were way cuter than me. And then the Ambrose twins, they were Boy Scouts. They actually had their shit together. They knew what they were doing. They were better marketers at the time. So I had to go door to door. So I went in our backyard, picked a bunch of fruit off the trees, put them in little brown bags, and went door to door in my wagon that had like a busted wheel. And the reason that's important is that my cost of goods sold was zero, which, I wish as a real estate agent, it was closer to that. But I sold these fruit door to door. I was embarrassed in the beginning, but the people that are really embarrassed were my parents, where I was like fleecing the neighborhood, with this fruit. But I will tell you that that's what taught me that every door you don't knock on is every opportunity that you miss. That's all I have. But what questions do we have? And I'm happy to like break down any piece that if anyone has any follow-up questions on this.
Thank you, Alex. That was awesome. I don't know. I think the haircut could have gotten you some sympathy out of during a lemonade stand.
I know. I should have thought about that.
Do you have any questions for Alex? Feel free to unmute yourself, ask away, drop it in the chat. This is your chance. This is recorded and this will be provided to you guys after as well for if you want to rewatch it. So this is your chance to ask away.
Yeah, Alex, you said you used the phrase "maintain your principle," and you said as long as it still works. At what point do you determine that it's not working? You send out 200 letters, and you don't get a response within a week, 3 months. What's the thought there?
Great question. Thanks for that, Sam. Basically, I will go through the whole cycle of coming soon, active, and then pending and then closed. If I don't get a call from there, that's it. I know my total investment and it's budgeted into every listing that we take, when it comes to that. So if I don't get any calls in there, I'm going to move on to the next one. And what's surprising to me is that sometimes it won't work for like 3 months. And then I'll get a call and they're like, oh, can you, I got your letter. We weren't thinking about selling, but we're thinking about it now. Because remember, a long time ago, people hated all the junk mail they have. But there's less and less because it's not working. So there's less and less junk mail, but we like have a million emails. But I would basically go, and if I end up getting a listing, 3 months later, then I'm going to run the same process again. Only in neighborhoods I'm going to want to work at. But more importantly, if I think that this property is going to show super well and get a lot of traction, that's when I go super hard in it. And it's 100% that I'm going to do it. If it's like, I know I'm aggressively overpriced in a neighborhood I don't really want to work, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to put myself in a scenario. It's not worth, the money that we're going to spend on it. But basically everything all in, for us ends up being right around $700. And I'm willing to put that on the line, to potentially get another listing because that one that we did on 33 Amesbury resulted in 90 extra $1,000. Does that help, Sam?
Yeah, that does. And so it's just you send it out, you wait for a response. If you don't hear a response, you move on. But as soon as you do, if you do, even if it's a year later, you do it again.
100%. Rinse and repeat. And that's
Yeah.
why we continue to do it. I mean, to the point where I can do 200 letters, but like this week we have 800 letters going out. We have a mailing machine in our office
Mhm.
because that's at scale, well, what it's going to have to look like. But 200 letters is easy because you only probably have to do them once every like couple weeks,
Mhm.
on timing. And if you're doing by hand, it ends up being pretty easy.
Cool. Thanks, Alex.
Christine in the chat did ask with the time interval that you mail these letters out, so there are weeks in between.
Yeah, it just depends. I would say on the coming soon one, which is the first one, I go ahead and wait till I'm like 10 days out on the property. And then once I get an offer, once it's active, sorry, then I mail the second one. And then once we accept an offer, even before it goes pending on the multiple listing service, that's when we mail the next one. So it's all based on events and not just timeline. But really great question, Christine. So we do it based on actual events. Sometimes the property is going to take 2 months to sell. But at that point, then when it's under contract, we put it under contract and then we mail the letter at that time. Because it's the cadence of events and you have inside information that they don't have. Because if they've been thinking about selling, sure, they can go on Zillow, redfinrealtor.com and look at it. But if they're like, well, what's going on with my neighbor's house, which is something that they actually want to know, they want the inside information, but like, how's the activity on that one? We're not sure if we're ready to move, but that's, the way I would do it based on, event.
Awesome, thank you. Any other last minute questions before we let Alex go?
You said this recording is going to be emailed.
Yes, yes.
Thank you,
will
Bailey.
Yes, of course, you'll get the emailed version as well as it'll be posted in the Facebook group. So if you're not a part of that, definitely join there as well. Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. I really appreciate you hopping on, taking the time out of your busy schedule for us. I guess we'll see you guys next week for Shut Up and Dial and in 2 weeks for the next Winning Wednesday. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.